Yes, sir. Welcome back to Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. Special guest today, the Honorable Kaleem Shabazz. He is the Vice President of Atlantic City City Council, 3rd Ward President. It also should be noted he is the President or Vice President of the NAACP?
President.
President. Okay. All right. So this segment we want to talk about voting in the upcoming election.
Okay.
We enjoy your thorough answers, but I'm running out of tape. So. Okay.
Shorten it up. I got you.
just a tad.
Right.
We love the answers. We love thorough answers, actually, because the purpose of this is to give our viewers information that they may not have or understand, and you're giving a lot of clarity, and we definitely appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about what offices in Atlantic City will be open for the November election, or any offices?
Well, in Atlantic City, we're not going to have any local elections.
Okay.
There are obviously there are county elections.
Okay.
There are state elections.
Okay.
There are federal elections. Of course, 2024, the president is
Yes.
up for election, and obviously everybody votes for the president or can vote for the president if they choose to. Hopefully, they will. But there's no local elections in the city. The city local elections will be 2025.
Okay.
In 2025, the mayor will be up, and the 3 at-large council seats will be up.
Okay.
We just had a election for the ward council seats. There are 9 council people in Atlantic City, 6 wards, meaning each ward has a representative. We all ran just in November was our election. January we got sworn in. In 2025, the mayor runs, and the 3 at-large seats will run, and of course they will be sworn in January of 26.
Right.
So in other words, there's never a time that all the government is running for re-election or election at the same time.
Okay.
Right.
I want to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so in the last election, the cycle that we had,
Right.
the Republicans did some damage everywhere except for Atlantic City. I think Atlantic City swept the council,
Right.
except for one office, and the brother who didn't win is definitely a good brother.
Right.
So do you wish to comment on how Atlantic City did so well with the Democratic Party?
Well, Atlantic City is a Democratic stronghold, and hopefully it's going to continue to be. I have several Republican friends that I respect and work with, but the Republican Party, unfortunately, has become toxic at the national level because of their allegiance to Donald Trump.
Okay.
And because of their following Donald Trump, and because of their excusing Donald Trump, and because of their pattern of accepting Donald Trump's lies and falsehoods and misrepresentations. Brother Tyler, it pains me to say that as an American. It pains me to say that we have a former president who just lies. I mean, just makes up stuff and tells things that are not true, and spews division and hate, and tried to overturn a peaceful election. I was at the prosecutor's office the other day, and I shout out to him for having me and Perry Mays make a presentation on African American history. And I said to the audience, I said, this is one of my barbershop philosophers. We had this conversation. You know, you go to an African American barbershop, you know, the African American barbershop is like a town hall all the time.
All the time.
And a community center all the time. And I went in there, and one of the barbershop philosophers, and we had barbers and barbershop philosophers, and sometimes they're the same person, and sometimes they're different persons. But the barbershop philosopher, he knows everything. He has an opinion on everything, and he tells you his opinion whether you like it or not. One of the barbershop philosophers said, Councilman, what do you think would have happened if on January 6th, the things that happened on January 6th, the amount of people who converged on Washington January 6th, if there were people of color, what do you think the response would have been? And I told said philosopher That's a question that if I answer it, I will be here all afternoon. If I don't answer it, I might still be here all afternoon, and I got to get back to City Hall, so let me get a haircut and I'll come back to that. I did that because we all know, Brother Tyler, that the sad truth is that America is so steeped in racism and discrimination and prejudice. If that had been people of color, you still would have been having body bags. You still would have been cleaning the blood off of the steps of the Capitol if that many men of color went down to Washington and did what those people did on January 6th. And I don't think anybody can dispute that. And that's sad, because we know that there's no way in the world that people of color would have been treated like those people were treated, allowed to leave Washington, D.C. Now, they're getting prosecuted. Over 1,000 people have been prosecuted and sent to jail and getting jail terms. My point is, though, they were allowed to leave. They were not mowed down. They were not detained. So that is the sad state of the Republican Party. Now you have people in the Republican Party who saying it didn't happen, who saying that they were tourists, who say it wasn't an insurrection. In fact, you had people in the Republican Party. You have a lady who was running to be president, still is running to be president, said she doesn't know what caused the Civil War. And every 6th grade, 5th grade student knows the Civil War was fought over slavery and the enslavement of people of color in this country. And she doesn't seem to understand that. You had another man running for president who was a Republican, is a Republican, said that slavery was good for the slaves. So I'm saying, how can people like this who have these kind of thoughts and articulate them in public for people to follow and accept, how can they aspire to be the president of the United States? So that's a long answer, but the Republican Party at many levels is way off track, way out of reality.
Okay.
Long answer, I'll make them short.
Well, fortunately for us,
Right.
it's time for a little game.
Right.
And so this game is called Dinner with the President.
Dinner with the president.
So my first question is this. You have an opportunity to have dinner with Joe Biden.
Mm.
What's the first question that you ask?
That requires some thought. I would like to have dinner with President Biden. I admire him. I would think I would ask President Biden, how are you going to make sure that we mobilize 18 to 25-year-olds to vote, to not just to register, because registering is only one step, to register and to vote? How will you let communities of color know that there is a clear distinction between you and Donald Trump? And then a more general question, how can we let more people in the general population know that elections matter and that they should be engaged? Even though more people vote in the presidential election than vote in other elections, I think our high percentage was like 75%, 70% at the last presidential election. That's a disgrace, Brother Tyler. And yes, I'm an elected Democratic official. I believe the Democratic Party, although not perfect, has offered more opportunity. The only president of color who has been elected in this country is President Barack Hussein Obama. He was a Democrat. He is a Democrat. The only woman of color who has been elected in this country as vice president is Kamala Harris. She's a Democrat. The only person of color, woman of color who's on the Supreme Court is Tangi Harris. She's by a Democratic president. And somebody's going to say, yeah, well, Thomas is on the Supreme Court. Yes, he is, by President Bush. We have to give President Bush for credit by that. And Thomas is a person of color. But I think most people of color would have strong opinions about his opinions. So
Okay.
I believe that we have to get more people engaged. Bottom line, the country needs to have more people engaged. No matter if they vote for Republicans, they vote for Democrats, they need to be involved.
Okay. Here's the second part of this
Right.
question. And you're not allowed to assault me in any physical way.
No, I wouldn't do
Now,
that.
say you're having dinner with Donald Trump.
Mhm.
What would be your first question?
Man, I would say, how did I get in this dream? Because that would be a nightmare to have done with Donald Trump. But I would tell President Trump, do you think that you will be proud if you could come back 50 years from now and look at your legacy of treatment of people in general, because he mistreats a lot of people, your support of the divisive rhetoric that you use, and your general deportment as a human being? What would you say about your legacy? And I would like to see how he would answer that.
Okay. You're just tuning in. This is Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. We're talking about the upcoming elections with Kaleem Shabazz, who is the Vice President of Atlantic City Council, third ward. Third ward President.
Council.
Council.
That's right. That's
Not
right.
third ward council.
Yeah.
City council person.
Right.
And so one of the things I hear that is coming is that there may be a statewide, and maybe I shouldn't speak about it yet, but a statewide push to have young people who will be 18 by the time the upcoming presidential election comes, that they'll be able to register and vote.
They can do that now.
Okay, so what am I thinking?
You can register 17, but you can't vote until you're 18.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, so
You talking about Vote 16.
vote 16.
Vote 16 movement, yeah.
Okay, you want to explain that?
Yeah, what the Vote 16 movement is, and thank you for the opportunity. Vote 16 movement means that youngsters who are 16 years of age can vote only in the school board election.
Okay.
And the rationale for that is that at 16, you can get a driving permit.
Okay.
At 16, you reach a certain level of maturity.
Okay.
At 16, the school board election has a direct impact on your life because you're in school, you're a student.
Okay.
So the rationale, and the city of Newark has passed that legislation, and
Okay.
we're looking at doing it in the city of Atlantic City.
Okay.
And so what it would mean is that when the school board election, our school board elections in Atlantic City is in June.
Right.
If you and I were 16 years old, we could vote in the school board election if this
Okay.
legislation passes.
I'll be 16 soon.
Okay. Look for you to vote. Okay.
Do you think it is a good way to get young people excited about the prospect of voting in future elections when they get 18?
I think it's excellent. Now, and I'm not naive. Would that mean that everyone that's 16, 100%, they're going to go and vote? No. Listen, it's hard to get the adults to vote, and they're grown. But I think it's a good starting step. I think it's a good learning tool to get people civically engaged.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, before we get into the integrity of the vote, I want to ask you this because there's a lot of I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but there are media sources that say that young people 18 to 21 are not as excited about this election as they have been in other elections, and there are other sources that say that some of the more less than moderate Democrats are not excited about coming to the polls this year for the presidential election. Do you see a decline in excitement? And I'll ask you pointedly, or candidly enough, has the Democratic Party delivered on enough for the people who supported them to be excited about coming out and voting again?
It's a good question. I would say yes, no, and yes. Yes, there is a decline in enthusiasm, which is unfortunate. No, I don't think the Democratic Party has been able to deliver on some of the things that it promised. And there's a reason for that, and I think we need to understand the reason.
Okay.
The reason for that is because in our system of government, in the earlier part of this program, I tried to explain that.
Right.
In our system of government, we have the president, legislature, and the judicial. The Senate and the Congress pass laws, and the president signs them into, makes them official, and then the president has the job of administrating those laws through his administration, the executive officers, and the different departments of government that we have in this country. But when you don't have a sufficient majority in the House of Representatives, which is the Congress, and in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, which is the upper house, then you can't get legislation passed to get to the president. Although the president has done some very good things. He, as I said, he put Tangi Harris on the Supreme Court. Very, very good move in my opinion. He got the CHIPS bill passed. Very good development for technology and things of the future that we need. He got the infrastructure bill passed. But a lot of the things that he wants to get done, the Republicans block it in Congress. And that's our form of government. So what's the answer, Shabazz? The answer is that those of us who are engaged need to stay engaged and get more people engaged so we can get people in office who will support the things that we want as people of color and as people who are progressive.
Okay.
The John Lewis Voting Act, if we had more people in the Congress and the Senate who represented the viewpoints of the majority of the people, we could pass the John Lewis Voting Act. We can't pass the John Lewis Voting Act if it doesn't start in the Congress and go to the Senate if you don't have people to bring it up. That's why we almost had to close the government down because the Republicans in Congress wanted to embarrass President Biden. And I would say this for people who think it's not important. We have the chance to make the first congressional leader be a person of color. And that's Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries is the minority leader now. He will be, if the Democrats can take control of the Congress, he will be Speaker of the House. And that has never happened in the history of the United States. And we need, in my mind, more Democratic legislators. Why? Because they're for things like improving the minimum wage, bringing back to earned income credit, stronger supports for climate change, supporting gender rights, supporting pay equity, supporting civil rights and social justice activities, supporting DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those are things that we need to look at. Supporting the teaching of African American history. You don't see any Democrats talking about we shouldn't teach African American history. You don't see any Democrats talking about that we don't need to have a focus on equality and equity in schools and businesses. Even the conservative, so-called conservative, moderate Democrats, you don't see any of them saying that slavery was good. I mean, you don't see that. So I'm saying there is a difference, and I think what those of us who are elected have to do is pointing out those differences on a partisan level, pointing out those differences and pointing out who has been for people of color. And then let people make their own decision. As our council president says, vote your conscience. You know, vote your conscience. But it is it is scary that people would vote against their own interests. So, and I think our interest as people of color is equity, is inclusion. As a gentleman said at the meeting this morning, freedom, justice, and equality. You know, it's Democrats who are talking about reforming the criminal justice system, the George Floyd Act. So I would suggest that at the presidential level, U.S. Senate, we do have a U.S. Senate seat open, and people run, and we have a congressional race, and county races. I would say that you have to look at who is speaking to your issues, who's speaking to your values, who's upholding those issues and values, and then vote accordingly.
This is Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. My guest is the Honorable Kaleem Shabazz. Let's talk real quick about the whole voting and integrity issues. In Atlantic City and New Jersey, we do not have same-day voting yet, right?
Yeah. That's something that NAACP is working on. NAACP is working on 2 voting projects right now in New Jersey. Vote 16, we're pushing that, and same-day voting registration. In fact, we sent a bunch of postcards to the Senate President Nick Scutari to post that bill. He hasn't posted it as of yet. We were hoping that he would do that on lame duck. Lame duck is the time between the November election and the January swearing in of a new crop of legislators. The Senate President did not post it. Hopefully he will post it in this legislative session. And I think it has a good chance to pass if he posts it.
Okay.
When I say post, that means bring it so people can consider it and vote on the floor.
Okay, I do understand that. I don't want to talk about what if right now, but what we do have, we still have vote by mail.
Right. Early voting.
And early voting.
Right.
Talk to me, or talk to my viewers about the importance of vote by mail and early voting.
Okay. I am guilty of being a proponent of early voting, not only early voting, vote by mail. I vote by mail all the time because, first of all, it's easy. You can sit at home and do it. It's safe. It's convenient for me because election day, a lot of times I'm running and doing different stuff.
I hate to interrupt you. In a few weeks, I'm going to have a Republican sitting in that same seat that you sit there right now. Right. And when I ask him about, or when I ask them about vote by mail, I have a feeling that they're going to debate the safety of vote by mail.
Well, they have that right, and I would support that right, but I would say the facts don't bear that out.
Okay.
The facts, especially in Atlantic County, and really across the country, the facts don't bear out that voting by mail is not safe. Voting by mail is safe. It's been proven election after election that we've done it. In fact, look at Oregon, brother Tyler. In Oregon, they vote the entire election by mail.
Okay.
Oregon is in the United States. Last time I checked, it's out in the West, but it is a U.S. state. They vote by mail. And in New Jersey, I am not aware of any voting fraud by mail.
Okay.
I know we have some people who have some issues voting, and some of them they'll be in court soon, but not vote by mail. They are doing the absentee ballots.
Okay.
Which is problematic and I think needs to be tightened up more. Okay. But voting by mail is safe as you can be. You sit in your house, or I sit in my house, and fill out my ballot.
Okay.
Seal it up and put it in the Atlantic County mail box that's across the street in front of the county building, and in about 7 or 8 other locations across the county. I've yet to hear of a person who says they filled out their ballot, they put their ballot in the mailbox, and they had a problem. Okay. Now, there might be such person. I'm not aware of such person.
Okay.
Or they put their their ballot in the mailbox, and it wasn't delivered. Now, there's some caveats. You have to make sure that you do it on time. you have to make sure that you fill your ballot out correctly. But speaking of interview, I did an interview with Maureen Bogdan, who was the Commissioner of Voter Registration, and she explained the process and how they even have a process if you make a mistake that you can, they said call cured. You can, but you have to make sure that you follow the guidelines for the timing of the mail. So my Republican friends can have the feelings about vote by mail. That's the right, and you don't have to vote by mail. That's just an option.
Right.
Vote by mail is an option, like early voting is an option. You don't have to vote early, but you can.
Some have issues with early voting.
So a lot of people not a lot of people, some people who want to restrict people from voting have issues with anything but standing in a line and voting on Tuesday. I have issues with that as being our only option. Why? Because as our fellow citizens in foreign countries, they have voting on the weekends. How come we can't have voting on the weekends? What is so special about Tuesday? That was during when you had an agricultural country, when you only had white males who could vote. You had Tuesday. I would suggest today we need a weekend, we need early voting, we need vote by mail, we need every option that we can to have people vote.
All right. He is Kaleem Shabazz. This is Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. As we move closer to the election, we will have representatives from the state to discuss the proper way to vote by mail, to vote early, to vote on Tuesday.
Right, vote on Tuesday.
And to also discuss the rules, regulations, and safety of such voting. Brother Kaleem, it's always a pleasure to have you. In 3 minutes or left, so if there's anything I forgot to ask you, can you bring it up now?
Oh yeah, I'm quick shameless commercial. On Saturday, April 27th of 2024, this year, the last Saturday in April, the Atlantic City NAACP is going to have their 50th Freedom Fund Gala. It's going to be at Hard Rock. We're going to honor several people, and we encourage people to come up until March 15th. Tickets are $100 a person. After March 15th, tickets are $125, and we are going to have our first annual Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver Civil Rights and Social Justice Award that we're going to give that night. And the recipient is going to be Dr. Pat Reed Merritt, who is a distinguished professor at Stockton. And why is she winning? Because Pat Reed Merritt, and our viewpoint, has carried on the legacy of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, our forever governor, my dear friend. And she, Pat Reed Merritt is responsible for the Fannie Lou Hamer statue in the Boardwalk Hall, in Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall. She's responsible for elevating Fannie Lou Hamer in Mississippi. They have a statue there and a national effort to recognize Fannie Lou Hamer. And she's one of the founders of the African American Studies program at Stockton over 40 years ago. So she is a person who has lived out the legacy of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, and she's going to be our honoree for that night. We're going to have other people. I can announce here also, Brother Tyler, that the president of the NAACP, which I'm honored to be, has the ability to give the President Award to one or two recipients. This year we're going to be two recipients. The first is going to be Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Is getting the President's Award on April 27th. And the reason Hard Rock is getting the President's Award is because they have been a giant in corporate responsibility here in Atlantic City. They have been a giant in community engagement. They have been a giant in philanthropic giving, and they have been a giant in really employee uplift. They just announced $10 million in bonuses to their employees. And the second presidential gift is Council President Aaron Sporty Randolph, who is a longtime elected official, 4 terms in the city of Atlantic City, who has made it his job to serve his community as an elected official. So there'll be the presidential awards, and we have several other honorees. Brenda Brathwaite for education, Dr. Mamadou and Dr. Kupanini for health, Atlantic Cape Community College, and Chicken Bone Beach for community input and community improvement, and Kathy Burt for business. So we invite people to come. 3 easy pieces. It's going to be entertainment, an outstanding band. If you like Motown, if you like R&B, they're going to be there. Okay. And we're not going to have a guest speaker, which is good, because a lot of times a guest speaker, when you have 400 or 500 people, which we hope to have, is hard to be heard and all that. So it's going to be good food, good fellowship, excellent honorees. Oh, I forgot, for government, our good friend, Prosecutor William Reynolds. Is going to be a government honoree. So great. April 27th, Saturday, Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Doors open at 6. Program starts at 7.
Is there, real quick, because I'm running short on time, is there a number or a way people can get more information? Yeah. Is there a way your constituents can get to you in case they don't know? Oh yeah,
the number for the NAACP is 609-344-2590. 609-344-2590 for the NAACP, and another number is 609-338-2383. That's 609-338-2383 and 609-344-2590. Now for city business, they should call 347-5510. 609-347-5510. That's the city clerk's office. If they have third ward concerns, problems, issues, they can leave a message with the very efficient people in the city clerk's office, and they will get in touch with me, and I'll get in touch with them.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. I want to thank my good friend, Kaleem Shabazz, on behalf of Mark Tyler, Norris Height, Christian Matthias, Paula Goddard, and the entire staff of AtlanticCityFocus.com, which airs Civic Engagement with Raymond Tyler. I would like to thank them and thank you for watching. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you, man.